Today's agenda can be viewed via the ITS webpage at www.its.ms.gov by clicking About and then Board Meetings, then the agenda link next to today's date. If you are attending via live stream, please send an email to meetingminutes@its.ms.gov with your name and the name of the entity you represent for our minutes to reflect your attendance. And with that, agenda item number 1 is approval of the April 16th, 2026 minutes. And I will note that a revised version of those minutes has been sent out just to correct a clerical error and reflect Keith's attendance. So I trust that you've all reviewed those. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Tom and second by Keith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Agenda item number 2, we have a trail porter, Mark Allen, Chief Information Officer, and Shanetta Drone, Deputy Executive Director of Economics Programs, presenting on behalf of MDHS. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Ms. Drone is out of town, so I'm representing.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Good morning. Representing agenda item number 2 for project number 49471, overview and request to issue RFP number 4746 for the acquisition of an electronic benefit transfer program for the Mississippi Department of Human Services. In October of 2017, ITS issued RFP number 3884-42408 for an electronic benefit transfer program in which Conduit State and Local Solutions Incorporated was selected as the lowest investigative vendor. The EBT program provides benefits for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and electronically disperses client-related benefits and cash payments through a debit card system. This contract expires on January 31st, 2028. Since MDHS's last bid, new technologies and increased market competition has emerged. MDHS wants to reevaluate their options to leverage these new innovations, reduce costs, and modernize MDHS's services for the state of Mississippi. MDHS is seeking to enter into a 5-year contract with a qualified vendor to provide a turnkey EBT program for the delivery of public assistance and benefits and services. The staffs of ITS and MDHS jointly request approval to advertise and publish RFP number 4746-49471 for the acquisition of the electronic benefit transfer program. With me today is Mark Allen, Chief Information Officer, to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and thanks, Mark. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mark to approve, seconded by Tom. All in favor say aye. Aye, it looks like it carries. Congratulations.
Easiest one I think I've been through, so thank you.
Good.
That hurts, Mark. That hurts.
Well, I was waiting on you to ask something, so
We'll
Thank
get you next. We'll get you next time, Mark.
I'm sure.
All right. Moving forward to agenda item 2.5, we have Broswell Crocker, Technology Procurement Consultant, and Brooke Seals, Director of School Financial Services, presenting on behalf of MDE.
Good morning. Agenda item 2.5 is for project number 49618, submitted under the ITS Planned Purchases Procedure by the Mississippi Department of Education. An agency using the EPL Planned Purchases Procedure is given authorization up to a specified dollar amount to make the identified procurements from the EPLs without further ITS involvement. For this particular purchase, the EPL is the National Association of State Procurement Officials Value Point Software Value Added Reseller Cooperative, which was the result of a formal competitive solicitation and is in alignment with Mississippi public purchasing law. The Mississippi Department of Education, through the Office of School Financial Services, administers Education Enhancement Fund classroom supply funds for teachers via a traditional banking card model that presents several operational, compliance, and customer service challenges for both MDE and participating educators. MDE is currently seeking a modern digital wallet platform specifically designed for restricted public sector educational spending that improves accountability, strengthens internal controls, enhances the user experience, and reduces administrative overhead. Class Wallet, an education-focused digital wallet and spend management platform, is currently utilized by multiple state education agencies and school districts nationwide for controlled educational purchasing programs. The staffs of ITS and MDE jointly recommend the approval of the planned purchase request to purchase Class Wallet from Insight Public Sector Incorporated at a 3-year lifecycle cost of $1,508,749.67 using the NASPO's Software Value Added Reseller Cooperative. Additionally, the staffs of ITS and MDE request that the ITS board waive the 3-quote requirement for planned purchases that exceed $1 million. With me to answer any questions you may have are Brooke Seals, Director of School Financial Services, and Jerica Jackson, Procurement Supervisor.
Thank you and welcome. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mark.
I'm not sure who to direct the question to, but I'm struggling with this one pretty significantly. Can you tell me what the current system is and why it is insufficient? I find the business case to be lacking.
Sure, I'll talk about that a little bit. With the current vendor, we're over the past 2 years, we've had to lapse over $6 million due to educators not being able to use the funds properly, just due to a various amount of reasons, just one simply not being able to check their balances. With the new vendor, we're able to access those funds quite in real time, actually. So, although with the proposed solutions provide stronger spending controls, it improves the audit and reporting functions. It reduces administrative burden on the MDE staff, and it makes it more comprehensive program management solution rather than just a simple card processor. So, I think we'll be able to use the funds as the legislators intended with the new vendor.
In the business case, there's a cost benefit analysis that in that section, there's not even a single number. How is the cost benefit analysis actually done?
We apologize for the delay. So Kim Wiggins is the chief of operations who has the knowledge of most of the information that you're asking. Oh, here she is. Because if you know our board, SBE board and ITS boards are going on at the same time. So here she is. She just come in. So he's asking about the cost analysis. He said because it wasn't good.
Yes, good morning. So based on the way the structure of the contract as it relates to U.S. Bank and the Department of Finance and Administration, that contract, as you are aware, includes the state's procurement card program as well as the state's travel card. And that contract is based on a DFA structure. It is a no-cost contract because the transaction fees are placed either per transaction, or in some instances, the vendors agree to pay that 2.5% transaction fee. In this particular case, there will be implementation fees in similar structure. Class Wallet does, in some instances, have the 2.5 transaction fee paid by vendors. What you'll see in our quote from them, there is a premium plan, an additional plan that would allow for teachers to access Amazon. Amazon does not participate as a vendor who would pay that 2.5%. And so understanding the utilization of the teacher cards, Amazon was primarily the #1 vendor they used. And so we, as a state, made the decision to pay that additional fee to make that service available to the districts. You'll also see in there, implementation fees that don't recur in years 2 and 3. But that for the initial setup, certainly they're there. And then we also, as a state, under the US Bank contract, expenditure validation, you will see that cost, that work, that body of work specifically became the responsibility of staff at the district level and at our state agency. And so while there is not a specific dollar tied to that, part of the inefficiency of the program under its current vendor is tied to the difficulty in being able to validate expenditures. It was a very manual and tedious process. One of the issues that we found is because that work was so tedious and difficult at times to gain the necessary data to make informed decisions, many of the teachers just refrained from using the cards themselves. And so we've seen over the last 2 years a utilization decrease as it relates to the use of the cards, such that not all funds that were appropriated for this program were spent. And so we made the decision under this program to include the cost for expenditure validation, so that we certainly can make sure we are the work is audit worthy, and that we're able to validate that all purchases are allowable based on the regulations of the program. And so while you will see implementation fees and transaction fees that perhaps did not occur under the current vendor, based on utilization and based on efficiency from the teacher's perspective, and also from the district administrators and facilitators, we found that these transaction fees were necessary in order to fulfill the full intent of the fund utilization as appropriated by the legislature. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
How many dollars are being distributed to teachers this way?
Each teacher receives $748 per person.
And how many is that total to the state?
The total appropriation is $25 million tied to this program.
I think he was asking though, how many dollars are distributed to the teachers?
$748 per teacher.
And how many teachers?
31,000 teachers currently. That number fluctuates from year to year.
Is this a closed marketplace?
Yes, we procured it through ITS's NASPO SBAR.
No. Not how did we procure, not how are we planning on procuring this instance? In terms of, it was not clear to me that is Class Wallet a closed marketplace? Are teachers only allowed to purchase things from Class Wallet?
Closed marketplace is. What is a closed?
I'm sorry, I'm struggling to hear you. I apologize.
I'm sorry. Well, I don't know that I understand the term closed marketplace. What does that refer to specifically?
Functionally, how does this work? Does a teacher log into Class Wallet and they can select things that are available via Class Wallet?
Yes, so it provides basically a digital marketplace. So each teacher is provided a credential, and once they access that, every vendor included in the particular package that the state purchases, they basically go into it and they click on Amazon. They go through and shop Amazon. They put it in their cart, and their dollar amount shows in their profile when they open. And so as they spend, regardless of, I think, Office Depot, Amazon, several other Staples, several others are in there. And so as they purchase from the varying vendors, it goes in a cart, and that spend shows against their balance. We also propose or included in our, so there are no physical cards. It is all virtual. It is all digital. We also included, because we do understand that there are are teachers who have local vendors they prefer to do business with. And so we included in our request a cost for direct pay. So if a teacher were to go into a local store and purchase a school item or school supplies, they would be able to take a picture of that receipt. That receipt would upload, and that cost would be reimbursed to the teacher, but then subtracted from their overall balance.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Why are we unable to get 3 quotes?
So based on the procurement method under the NASPO SBAR, that contract has already been solicited, and it's offered to us in the states as a means of method of procurement.
And so CDWG did not quote. They sent us an email that they did not. Jericho, will you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, CDWG declined to bid, and zones, they didn't have Class Wallet on their list of.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, CDWG declined to bid, and zones, they didn't have Class Wallet on the list of services for NASPO.
And there are only 3 resellers of this product?
I think there were 4 on the approved list. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. 3 responded, 2 with a submission, and 1 with a letter saying we don't wish to submit. And so I was the 4th one on the approved list contacted?
Yeah, CDWG,
Zones where they contacted you.
And they just did not respond at all?
So the
We
list.
provided notice.
Yeah.
Send the art. Okay.
So zones, because they were already established, not on the, not having a Class Wallet as a list, we did not solicit them. We only solicited those that had Class Wallet on their list. And that was CDWG, SHI, and SI.
And why was the choice for Class Wallet specifically made? Are there other vendors? Are there other people that can provide a similar service?
So for 2 or 3 reasons. There are other vendors in the marketplace. However, we convened a teacher panel of business managers from a cross section of the state, large districts, medium-sized, small districts. Many of them for many years have either worked with Class Wallet locally, or they have consulted with other states who have successfully used Class Wallet. And so there's a level of comfort and familiarity there. And so this decision in large measure was driven at the request of many of our school districts. Secondly, because I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the agency received an audit review, compliance audit review last year tied to the EEF cards for teachers. And the gist of that report was tied to the statute requires that all cards are activated by August 15th. But there is a growing number of school districts who are now
Lost you.
Did we lose them?
You may be talking, but we don't hear you.
We still can't hear you. Brooke, are you there? We can't wave your hand or something so we can see if you can hear us.
Think it might be totally frozen. But she took the video off.
Yeah, they got some problems. Something's going on.
Yeah, I think they dropped from the Zoom. So,
Maybe
Tonight?
they'll join.
yep, give me just a second. We're gonna behind the scenes try to see what's happening with their side.
I apologize. I apologize. We lost our network connectivity for a moment. But as I was saying, so there are school districts who are progressively moving to a 12-month model, which the thrust of the compliance report from the auditor's office was that August 15th was too late to provide teacher cards to teachers in advance of the mid-July start date for school. And so the directive was for MDE to find a solution that would allow us to get cards or the like into districts before early July. And so in contemplating and in trying to meet that timeline, understanding that the NASPO SBAR provided Class Wallet as a solution, that really tilted us in the decision to actually move forward with Class Wallet versus doing a traditional solicitation. It was a time decision, but also it was a decision in large measure driven by the request of districts who specifically has had a strong level of confident familiarity with Class Wallet.
Very good. The audio is much better now. Thank you. So how much are we currently, what is compliance costing you today?
So compliance is costing us it is not a static fee that we can actually point to, but compliance for this program has meant that our staff, our school financial services staff of three people, we have had to dedicate a person to literally going in, doing the expenditure validation. One of the first year of implementation through the current vendor, the cards did not have a declining balance. And what that meant was that teachers could overspend that $748. And state law requires that no teacher in a subsequent year can receive a card if they owe a balance for a prior year. And that problem was compounded because teachers were not able to readily and easily access their profiles to show what their balances were. And so in over 80% of the instances, the teachers were locked out, and it would mean that they would call their program administrator who did not have credentials for some unknown reason to actually verify their balances. And so they would end up calling our agency. We'd have to allocate staff to tell them things like their balance. And so in year one, we had significant overspends. And so in the second year, many teachers were delayed in receiving their cards because they had balances that needed to be cleared up. And so we dedicated staff to calling districts, calling teachers, letting them know what was owed. Checks were sent to the agency. We had to physically process that. And so while we did not pay for expenditure, we don't pay for expenditure validation, or we don't pay for that kind of compliance work under the current contract, the work is still a requirement, and we've just had to absorb it through our own staff costs. And the statute does not allow for administrative reimbursement to the agency by way of salary, funding for salary. None of this funding can be used for that. So that really just became a sunken cost for us. And so in this instance, what you will see now, the cost, it has been a cost in staff labor and time at the district and the state level. It has just not been a cost that has been factored in and figured into the overall spend under the current contract.
So you presently are projecting a 3-year cost associated with this, higher in year one. I assume that is related to getting the program started up?
Exactly.
Did you evaluate whether or not a more staged approach might be better to evaluate whether or not Class Wallet actually performs as you expect?
So we did have discussions tied to that, and ultimately the decision was made. It is difficult to do a staged process in this because that would mean maintaining services under two different vendors. What we're doing as a part of the implementation is we are the 12 or so districts, I believe, that are now 12-month districts will be districts that will be targeted to have their credentials activated by July 15th. And based on feedback we received from that, we will make the adjustments necessary so that when we roll the balance of the activated profiles out to the remainder of the districts, we will have had an opportunity to find out where the kinks are and the bottlenecks are, and to make those adjustments before the cards are activated in mass. So it was for us, it was the management of two different contracts under two different vendors. One who only provided a physical card and one who was providing a digital platform would just have been too much to manage at our level and at the district level.
And has DFA reviewed this?
Yes, so we have, we've been in
I lost your audio.
I'm sorry. Hello?
There, no, got it.
So we've been in constant discussions with DFA with regard to this program. And our last conversation is if the board does approve this, then we will work certainly with DFA and our attorneys to make sure there were payment issues with the current vendor and how they were receiving funding. And so that was one of the biggest issues DFA saw on their side. And so we've had discussions about how to work through those issues before. And so we had discussions with DFA about an MOU, whether or not that was necessary for them. But we've been in talks with DFA for about 3 or 4 months now in anticipation of this.
And you're attempting to get this implemented in the next 30 days?
Yes. With the focus, as I just said, with the priority being on the initial 12 districts who are 12-month districts.
And do you have the resources to execute that?
Yes, we do. We've developed as a part of the response from Class Wallet, we did require that they provide us a timeline for implementation, which included us providing all the data necessary. We've started to collect that data from school districts with regard to number of cards, the number of teachers they're projecting. And so that information, if the board approves this, is available to provide to Class Wallet so that they can begin to set up the profiles for each of the teachers based on district. The month of June has been set aside for training at the district level. We've also included several virtual trainings for teachers themselves in the month of June in anticipation of the June 15th activation. July 15th activation, I'm sorry.
No further questions, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, this is Representative Ford. I just have one comment at the appropriate time.
I have
Christian, you're
just
muted.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, Representative Ford, thank you for attending. And if you would like to proceed with your comment now, I think now would be an appropriate time.
Thank you so much. I just really wanted to add that I have had multiple teachers reach out to me asking with passion to make sure that they can get their money before school starts. It has really set some of them back, and I just wanted you to know that there is a plea on the side of teachers for this. That's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you. That's good information. Tom, did you have something?
Yeah, and it may have already been answered, but looking at the cost benefit analysis on 2.5.7, down in the lower third, it says, although the proposed solution may include administrative platform costs, those costs may be offset through, and then it's got 4 bullet points. And maybe there's a number for that administrative platform cost that's somewhere else in this. But if you have the administrative cost and you can put some sort of number on the reduced staff time, financial risk, et cetera, that would be helpful.
We can do that.
And just something in the future.
Yes, sir.
The other thing was that you said something, or maybe somebody said something before we lost the other folks, about one of the reasons for Class Wallet being selected was the familiarity of folks that already using it. And the only comment, I guess, that I would have there is related to what Mark Allen and his bunch just came to us with the EBT solution, and that is things change. And so Class Wallet may still be great, but if there are improved security and other factors that need to be looked at, I think in the future, again, that should also be done. But I'm very much aware that, and this won't be the first time I've said this, but we're sort of backed into a corner here. The teachers need to be able to access these funds for their classes and for their jobs. And they need to be able to do that starting in July. So it's not like we've got a lot of other options, but to say, okay. And again, that's just the sort of thing that I would like people to think about coming before us in the future. And otherwise, we're just basically a rubber stamp. And then finally, from a technical standpoint, this happens a lot of times, and I understand from a convenient standpoint, it does make sense to have like 3 or 4 people in a room at a table to join us that way. But this was a classic example of what can go wrong when we use it. You can't hear them. You lose the connection. I just suggest that in the future, we have the technology now. If nothing else, you can just use your phone, for goodness sakes, and have everybody come in separately so we can hear and see them. And then I know who's talking. Even when I went out of the gallery and into the speaker mode, I couldn't really tell who was talking. So that's just a comment. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Madam Chair, I have one more question.
Yes, Mark.
So the $620,000 is additional administrative costs that the state is going to incur. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that is a true statement.
And where does that money come from?
We have currently allocated funding from carryover funds that the agency has tied to this program that are unused, and we've worked and reached out, had discussions with Elbow. We've talked with our attorneys about whether or not carryover funds are allowable to cover the cost of transaction fees. So that's where those funds will come from.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks. Keith, did you have something?
No.
Okay. I don't guess that tabling this to the next meeting is an option given the timeline. Do we have a motion or any further discussion? So no motions to approve. Holly, legal, somebody want to advise me what to do in this case?
So you'll have to, this is Tabitha Baum. You'll have to, somebody has to make a motion if that's what they want. If not, then there's no motion, no action. So it would have to be, I mean, the board members have to determine whether they're going to take action or not. If no action is taken, then no action is taken on the item and it doesn't move forward.
Okay. So again, I guess I'll say, do I have a motion either to approve or disapprove? Or elsewise? All right, hearing none, I guess the board will take no action at this meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for their participation in that. All right, I guess we will move on to number 3, agenda item number 3. We have Jake Alexander, Daniel Jordan, Chief Information Officer.
I would say that if some of the issues can be addressed, there is always the chance of calling a special call meeting and addressing this, in a very short time to keep this on track. Because I do appreciate what Representative Ford said, and I understand the need for something.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that, Tom. That's a good suggestion. And I would work with ITS, and we would certainly, I think all the board members would be willing to meet again in special session if we can get some of these issues resolved.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But then I guess I've missed something somewhere in that if we do nothing, there is no way to compensate or make available the funds to the teachers. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, not at this point. Not at this point. DFA has engaged in discussions with the current vendor of the, if the board would have approved it, with the current vendor to discuss terminating that portion of the contract. So at this point, we would go back to DFA and have conversations about maintaining the contract as it is.
It kind of sounds like we got the cart before the horse on this a little bit, or we're a little bit out of sync, or the timing is certainly not good. I mean, Representative Ford makes a good point, and I sympathize with that, and I struggle with that. I want to make sure the teachers get their funds, but at the same time, we got to do the right thing too. So anyway, I'm a little confused with it all, but I support what Tom was saying as well. We could have a special meeting if we get enough information to satisfy everybody and keep the ball rolling. But Mark, thank you. You had some good questions and very thorough knowledge of that. I appreciate you taking the lead on it.
Yep. Okay, then I will try to get us back on track. We'll move on to number 3. Now we are to Jake Alexander. You would think I would get that one right. Daniel Jordan, Chief Information Officer, and Shelby Scoggins, Deputy Director for Elections, and Kyle Kirkpatrick, Assistant Secretary of State for Elections, presenting on behalf of the Secretary of State's office.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Today we'll be requesting approval for the sole source acquisition of election management software licenses and programming services for TSX and DS200 voting machines from Election Systems and Software LLC for Mississippi Secretary of State's office. ITS utilizes the provisions of public purchasing law for sole source and emergency procurements of information technology. Mississippi public purchasing law specifies that non-competitive items available from one source only be exempted from bid requirements. ITS statute in section 25-53-5 permits ITS to utilize provisions in public purchasing law or regulations when applicable. For public purchasing law, acquisitions must meet certain criteria to be authorized as a sole source. ITS staff thoroughly review sole source certification requests, determining if competing products and or services exist. If the review confirms a sole source, then a sole source advertisement is issued, giving interested parties an opportunity to identify competing products and or services. Based upon the results of the sole source advertisement, ITS either certifies the request as a sole source or conducts a competitive procurement. On April 28th, 2026, ITS advertised notice of intent to certify sole source number 4755 for the Mississippi Secretary of State's Office for Election Management Software Licensing, Coding, and Programming Services. No objections were received from interested parties, therefore ITS is certifying the request as a sole source pending ITS board approval. After the statewide purchase of TSX voting machines in 2005 as part of the state's requirement under the Help America Vote Act in 2002, the Secretary of State's office contracted with the voting machines vendor to cover software, license, and election coding costs necessary to operate the TSX voting machines. As election systems modernized, many counties began transitioning to newer voting equipment that was not covered under the original contract, requiring counties to assume responsibility of their own licensing and coding costs. The Secretary of State seeks to continue its sole source contractual relationship with election systems and software for software licensing and election coding services associated with the ES&S's proprietary election systems, including those utilized by counties operating TSX and DS200 voting equipment. The staffs of ITS and MSOS jointly recommend election systems and softwares as a sole source provider of election management software licensing and programming services for TSX and DS200 voting machines at a total 4-year lifecycle cost of $3,587,643. With this continuation, the revised total 8-year lifecycle cost of this project is $6,646,802. With me today and answer any questions you might have is Daniel Jordan, Chief Information Officer, Shelby Scogins, Deputy Director of Elections, and Kyle Kirkpatrick, Assistant Secretary of State for Elections.
Thank you, Jake, and welcome to the others. Questions or comments from the board or Representative Ford?
Just one, all 82 counties are using some form of this hardware software combination. Is that right?
That is correct. There are currently 3 separate vendors that operate in the state of Mississippi: Hart InterCivics, Voting Works, and ES&S, and the counties have one of those, are using one of those. Currently, ES&S is roughly used in 75 of the 82 counties.
That's all.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to approve by Mark, second by Keith. All in favor, aye.
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 The motion carries and the project is approved.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, agenda item number 4, Michaela Smith, Jill Dent, Executive Director, and Joyce Greer, Education Program Development Supervisor, presenting on behalf of MDE.
Good morning. Agenda item number 4 is the recommendation for project number 49347, requesting approval for the sole source acquisition of an early education, observation, and professional development platform from Teachstone Incorporated for the Mississippi Department of Education. The Mississippi Department of Education currently utilizes the classroom assessment scoring system framework provided by Teachstone Incorporated to evaluate and improve the quality of teacher-child interactions in pre-kindergarten classrooms. Annual class evaluations supply objective data to measure program effectiveness and meet state reporting requirements. MDE aims to support continuous classroom improvement by offering educators targeted feedback and professional development based on class data. The existing class contract ends on June 30th, 2026, and MDE seeks to renew the contract for an additional 3 years. The staffs of ITS and MDE jointly recommend Teachstone Incorporated as the sole source provider of an early education, observation, and professional development platform at a 3-year lifecycle cost of $461,630. With the approval of this sole source request, the total 12-year lifecycle cost of this contract is $1,028,632.30. With me today to answer any questions you may have are Jill Dent, Executive Director, and Joyce Greer, Education Program Development Supervisor.
Thank you, Michaela, and welcome others. Any questions or comments from the board or Representative Ford?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mark?
So we're certifying that Teachstone is the sole source for this. There's no one else that does this kind of activity? You're muted. No audio.
We still can't hear you. Seem to be having more technical difficulties today than normal.
If I had to guess, Jill, your computer set up to use the wrong microphone.
Well, we could hit pause on that and let her resolve that issue, move to number 5, and then we'll loop back to her. Okay, skipping number 4 for now, going to agenda item number 5, we have Danetta Durr, Krista LeBrun, Assistant Executive Director for Finance, and Jason Carter, Deputy Executive Director for Finance, presenting on behalf of the Mississippi Community College Board.
Good morning. Agenda item number 5 is the recommendation for project 49536 to request the approval for the sole source acquisition of a web-based student retention analytics system subscription for the Mississippi Community College Board. Dropout Detective is a cloud-based platform that integrates directly with the Canvas learning management system and analyzes student engagement and academic activity data nightly. The system generates alerts identifying students who may be at risk of failing or withdrawing, allowing advisors, faculty, and student support personnel to intervene earlier. ITS initially certified a sole source for a web-based student retention analytics system subscription on behalf of MCCB in 2014. The following year, a contract amendment was executed for the addition of The following year, a contract amendment was executed for the addition of reporting features and the purchase of Instructor Insight. Insight is a software tool designed to help institutions monitor teaching effectiveness and course performance. Presently, the current software license and application service provider agreement expires on June 30th, 2026. The staffs of ITS and MCCB jointly recommend Aspire EDU Incorporated as the sole source provider of a web-based student retention analytics system subscription at a total lifecycle cost of $997,500. With this continuation, the revised total 11-year lifecycle cost of this project is $2,740,925. With me today to answer any questions you may have are Krista LeBrun, Assistant Executive Director of E-Learning and Instructional Technology, and Jason Carter, Deputy Executive Director of Finance.
Thank you and welcome. Any questions or comments? I have one. 11 years is a really long time for anything involving technology. Any thoughts on why we're going so far out?
So we've had it for several years. We initiated this contract around 2014 and made the decision when we had some budget reductions to discontinue the service. When COVID hit, we realized, the value and the magnitude of this service because it integrates directly with the LMS. We have not been able to find another solution that provides this exact service. Most of the at-risk analytic solutions are based on your student information system. This solution, because we are talking about the consortium and we have crossed enrollments, This allows us to be able to provide that analytics for those crossed enrollments where your CIS-centric solutions are really focused on your local enrollments. We have been exploring alternative solutions. We just haven't found one that provides us the same service.
Okay, but again, why so long?
We're only going out 3 years.
Yeah, we're only going out
I
3
see.
additional years. Yeah.
It's not limited.
Yeah, well, it's not unlimited. We'll continue to keep evaluating that solution. We do have a rigorous procurement that we do internally with the consortium, but since there has been no alternative solution that integrates with the LMS as Aspire EDU does, and Aspire EDU has not raised their rates for us since our previous contract, the consortium wanted to continue.
Okay, thank you for correcting me on that. I just misunderstood. Thought we were renewing for 11. All right, any other questions or comments from Representative Ford or the board?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mark?
So how is this system actually used?
So the system integrates as an LTI into the learning management system, which is Canvas. So all 15 institutions have access to Canvas. And it's added through the LTI. Through a proprietary algorithm, it evaluates the student's activity within the learning management system. And so now that most institutions have gone to very online-centric modalities, hybrid solutions, this is looking at all of the activity that takes place or lack of activity that is taking place within the LMS, within the modules, within the courses. And it's doing an analytic of the likelihood of that student being at risk of either failing the course or dropping from the institution. And so it actually does it as a color code, red, yellow, green. Advisors work directly with those students, instructors work directly with those students to reach out to them and determine what's the reasons that they are at risk of failing the course or dropping out of the course, whatever the case may be. Over the last 3 years, we've had about 162,000 interactions between advisors or instructors with those students. And as we know, it's more cost effective to retain a student than it is to try and recruit them. And so it's just using that data to determine their risk of failing or withdrawing. And then you have those advisors who are working directly with those students to try and retain them for whatever the case may be.
This is a theme of today, I guess. I would say that the cost benefit analysis that is presented in the analysis here is woefully insufficient. I mean, it asks the question. So, I mean, what is our actual graduation rate from the community colleges? So, of students that actually enter, I mean, what is the impact of this? I mean, this is a tax of $5 on every student. And, some portion of those students would, of course, not benefit from this at all. And, there are some that might benefit more.
Of the 160, Mark, I think I'm asking the same thing you were asking. Of the 162,000 interactions you had, of the ones that were in payroll you were trying to retain, what percentage of those were retained?
Yeah. What was the success rate, and how does that compare to the cost of recruiting them?
I do not have that data because there's so many different variables that goes into, student retention. I could certainly try and find some data on that, but I do not have it at this time.
I would think that would really help your cost benefit analysis to have, if you know that it costs more to recruit than it is to retain, then if you know what that is, that would be a great number to have to present as a cost benefit.
And I can appreciate the sensitivities and how do you tease, this out, right? So does this system run in parallel and then send a report to advisors to say, hey, look, this student and this student are at risk, and they get updated reports on a regular basis about what their at-risk students are?
Yeah, the data runs nightly, and so the advisors have access to the dashboards. The instructors have access to the dashboards as well. And so they're, again, based on that activity that takes place during the day, those reports run overnight. Then the next day, the advisors, the instructors are able to see how that student has modified. Either they're not at risk, they're in the yellow, potentially at risk, or red, high at risk.
And how does that change the behavior of the advisor? So if they see this report every morning when they have a cup of coffee, right? What do they do with it?
So
And
using
how's
those
that measured?
dashboards, yeah, no, great question. Using those dashboards, because I know a lot of our student athletes as well, they've dedicated advisors to using the solution. Sometimes it's as simple as a student just doesn't have the right textbook for the course, or they don't have childcare, and that's hard to see when you're running, in virtual environments, in a digital environment. And so these instructors and advisors are reaching out directly to these students to see what's the issue, what's causing them to either not log into their course, or why are they struggling with the assignments? Maybe they made a failing grade. Because we do offer tutoring services as well, sometimes those students just don't realize that they have access to free tutoring. So it allows for that personal, interaction with an advisor to see what the issue may be that's causing that student to be at risk, and then helping to provide them solutions so that they can be successful through their course and their college career.
Let me rephrase the question just a little bit. So, good answer, but so we know the advisors are getting this information, and presumably they're doing something with it. How do we measure that? How do we know that an advisor who has received this information has taken the appropriate steps to save that student?
I think that's, I want to give you the best answer possible. I think that's, based on each individual institution, how they're using that information. I could say based on my time when I was at an institution, I can actually see how that student changes in analytics when you use a solution like this. Today, they may be red. Next week, they might go into the yellow, and then the week after that, green. So you're able to see that progression, and you're able to document what interactions has taken place with that student to try and retain them. And that's one of the things about the dashboard. The instructor can go in and make notes and comments about the interactions they've had. The advisor can go in and document the interactions they've had to try and retain that student. And throughout those interactions, you're able to see whether or not that student is successful in completing the course.
Does every institution have a person who is in charge of student retention and saving these students that are at risk?
Yes, yeah, all 15 colleges have advising and recruiting and advisors, and the instructors. All of them are using it in different ways. Most of our institutions have what they're actually calling intrusive advisors, who are really doing that one-on-one, for lack of a better word, hand-holding to see what it is, because we know a lot of times it's not the content itself in the course that's preventing them from being successful.
And then you are providing this as a tool to every student in the system, and then the individual institutions are left to actually manage how they're going to use the tool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because obviously some of our institutions have more digital offerings. We have our MSVCC, which is our virtual, and then a lot of our institutions offer their own local online. Others offer hybrid, but it's available to any and all students. It just depends on the activity that's taking place within the LMS.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Any others?
I would just like to say again that I think it's a very interesting application. It sounds like very encouraging, and I think anecdotally it sounds like it's going to work very well. I think just putting the numbers to it, doing some estimates and putting some numbers to it would make it real easy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Mark, one more?
No, I would make the motion to accept, contingent on, as Keith indicated, some additional data, and maybe not contingent, but I would request, I'll make the motion to accept it as presented. I would like the additional data, as Keith has indicated, right, on how this is actually being used and what that potential impact is.
Okay.
And I can second that.
All right. Motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Krista and all, and please do get back with us on that supplemental information.
Absolutely. I'll get that to Danetta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think now maybe we can circle back to number 4. Have our technology issues been resolved with MDE?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so.
Okay. Welcome back, and
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate your patience. So your question was if this was the only tool Yes, this is the only tool that measures interaction between a teacher and a child. And so we are mandated to use something in this case in our Early Learning Collaborative Act to be able to measure the effectiveness of the classrooms that are funded through state funds. And so we've been using this tool for quite a while as our early learning collaboratives began using it at the beginning of this grant in 2014. And so that is why this is a sole source product.
Okay. Who asked that question?
I believe Mark
Could have been
did.
me.
Okay, okay.
What was it, me?
Yes. Yes, it was you.
I make no bones about it. I'm not a fan of sole source, right? For a million reasons. And so is it sole source because no other vendors do this, or is it sole source because of some, right, that teach is actually been specified in some way, shape, or form?
It's
Teach
sole
stone,
source
right?
because there is no other vendor that measures interaction, inter-rate or reliability interaction between the teacher and the child. Teachstone has class, and that is the only tool that will measure this. The interaction between the teacher and the child.
And
in the
why do we
classroom.
measure this?
So this measure is, it helps us be able to measure the quality in the classroom and the quality of teaching in the classroom. It also provides us with information to create a professional development plan for that teacher and a coaching plan. So once we do a observation in the fall, and the coaches go into that classroom, and with that information, they create a professional development plan, as well as a way to a plan for coaching per se. And so that's what they know how to help the teachers throughout the school year improve their instructional practices within the classroom.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So is the measurement qualitative, quantitative, a mix?
It's qualitative. So it's we have staff, all of our coaches are trained on becoming reliable within the tool, and it's a 1 to 7 scale from low, middle of the road, and high interaction between the teacher and the child. And there are 4 rotations of 20-minute cycles where the coach will go into the classroom and observe and rate the interactions between the teacher and the children during those 20-minute cycles. And so they do that 4 times. And that tells us on a reliable basis, because in the 3rd cycle, we can see if it is a consistent teaching method every day, all day. We can see that cycle, because if they don't, if it's a show, it falls apart in the 3rd cycle. So first cycle is 20 minutes. Our coach steps out, rates the observation, does it again, rates the observation, does it again, rates the observation. And usually in that 3rd cycle, we can see gaps, or we can see if it is a typical teaching practice every single day. And with that information, we create professional development and coaching plans from that to be able to help support the teacher in the classroom. And so it's a way for us to be able to ensure quality so that we can make sure our teachers are doing what they need to do to support children's development. Because we're talking about 4-year-olds, you know, in the classroom, to support their development, to prepare them for kindergarten.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mark, second from Tom, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And it carries. Thank you for your time. We'll work on the technology issues.
I appreciate it.
Okay, other items. Item number 6, we have Haley Tucker from ITS presenting on behalf of the retirees under contract, or presenting that.
Thank you, Krista. Agenda item number 6 is the recommendation for approval of state retirees hired under contracts exceeding $20,000. Mississippi Code 27-104-17 requires that no former employee who is receiving state of Mississippi retirement benefits shall be hired under contract for an amount exceeding $20,000 a year without prior approval by an agency's proper governing board or authority. The staff of ITS recommends approval of the state retirees that are listed in the agenda item. And I'm open for any questions.
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Second from Mark, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, got that one knocked out. Thank you, Haley.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to Mr. Executive Director Craig's report.
Madam Chair, let me jump into my report, but let me start with 2 preliminary comments. So on agenda item 2.5, at the immediate adjournment of the board, I will get together with MDE, ITS staff, and I think DFA to troubleshoot this and get it back before the board appropriately. You know, we understand the importance of this $748 stipend for our teachers, and we will get it to you in a way that we can have a good conversation. I do think, candidly, either having DFA together with us, I think there's a lot of comments that they can make about the issues with the current solution, which prompted MDE to make this move. It's you know, I don't want to get over my skis here, but we will move with urgency on that front, understanding, as Chair Ford said, how important this is. And secondly, Madam Chair, on agenda item 5, we will be sure that that follow-up comes from the Community College Board and we get it to you.
Thank you.
Couple of comments. Been busy, has not really slowed down much after Sine Die, which it typically does. But let me walk through a couple of items, and as always, happy to take questions. We had a pretty wonderful day on Tuesday, May 5th, our AI Innovation Hub Showcase from 11 to 3 in the afternoon. 16 total teams with 52 students and 4 faculty from 2 state universities presented 9 use cases across 6 agencies. We had over 100 registered and attended. And from that, we have 3 students that were hired over the summer to actually build these proofs of concept. So it's hard not to be really, really proud about this program. It's a very innovative program that really, in conjunction with Maine and AWS, has really done some amazing things with students and really pushing the envelope on AI. The team is in the throes of finishing the 2026 Digital State Survey, which comes out every other year, to do on the 10th. And we are really working, the team's working really hard to gather feedback across government to put our best possible foot forward. These survey results are really nationally reported, and we want Mississippi to be in the best possible place. In the survey world, the NASCIO 2026 survey has been released. It's due in June. It's also a survey that collects data across all 50 states and really drives a lot of agendas and conversations, and we will be a part of that. With those wrapping up, the team is going to pivot to updating our strategic master plan, which requires an update in conjunction with long-range planning with our agencies. And so that'll be some stuff we do into the summer. We've kicked off the 2026 AI inventory, which is part of the Governor's Executive Order 1584. We plan to report out in August and really plan to pay attention to sort of data and data protection in this part of the survey. We continue to have a great collaborative relationship with the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network. We co-hosted an XAI webinar on May 14th with about 87 attendees, and we are planning a day with Anthropic on the Gulf Coast May 29th. So we're really focused on skill sets and building these skill sets, closing gaps. We are already expecting 150 attendees for that. Couple of strategic updates from the 2025 session. Senate Bill 2267, our data exchange. The feasibility study that we did is in delivery, and there'll be a final recommendation that we submit in conjunction with the requirements of the bill. If you recall, House Bill 1491 from 2025 directed us to set up a cloud center of excellence that is underway. We're finalizing plans for foundational infrastructure and governance projects related to infrastructure as code, identity, and other governance procedures. Procurement modernization stays top of mind for us. Our Procurement Modernization Advisory Council. I wanted to share with the board that on the 12th of May, we hosted a lunch and learn to really talk about our pilot, which was the Cloud Solutions Preferred Vendor Program, which we have dubbed the Cloud X, to sort of contemplate coming out of pilot mode. I think it's been a very successful vehicle for agencies to use. And Madam Chair, lastly, I just got notification yesterday afternoon that the Mississippi House of Representatives is setting up a select committee on government efficiency, and they will be holding a hearing on June 3rd at the Capitol. And I have responded as of this morning that ITS will be available and take part in that select committee as it gets started.
Good.
Happy to take questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions from anyone?
Craig, have you given any thought to, I mean, how are we deploying AI across government, right? So within my businesses, right, we have selected one of the vendors that are doing these things, right, and rolling them out.
Yes.
The capability is moving at the speed of light. I spend 2 hours a day trying to keep up, and I am failing woefully to do it. The other thing is I got a team that I run, and their ability to spend AI dollars is second to nothing, really, right? I mean, it's it has improved productivity. It has given us new capabilities. It is an amazing tool. So one, how are we going to pick a vendor for the state in some way, shape, or form, right? Or vendors, right? So that we can be competitive. And how are we going to control those costs? And how are we going to manage the capabilities and the outputs that are coming online?
Yep. Let me address it in 3 ways. First, through the governor's executive order and these inventories we're doing, Mark, we're kind of collecting that data across government and compiling it. Number one, we report out from that order across government and specifically to the legislative committee, which is looking at AI in government. It was set up last year in Senate Bill 2426. One of the great pieces of work that I think got done was the development of an acceptable use policy with some core principles. So you've probably heard or read about organizations using an AI Bill of Rights or something like that, but ITS did that work. It's sort of a best practice model that agencies can pick up and use. On the tool selection, we are leveraging for the first time our authority to develop master agreements. Mark, was put in our code in 2023. And last fall, I directed the team to begin to look at the development of these master agreements at scale. So the benefit of a master is it really encompasses all literally of public sector in the state, right? So all executive branch, all cities, all counties, all universities, all K-12 schools can use these agreements. So in essence, you are maximizing volume to drive price down.
Yeah.
We are very, very close to our first one, and we have our next two lined up. So we will have vehicles available for entities to make these selections, right? To be able to implement these tools. And I think that's, pretty imminent to do. Our innovation hub, which I reported out on, focused on the executive branch, but this is where we're beginning to build these sort of proofs of concept, right, of how these solutions can scale. You made a comment that resonated with me. We're really grappling with, generative solutions, and the world seems to only be talking about agents immediately. So I'm kind of feeling what you're saying in sort of waking up every day to a tsunami of information and a tsunami of, how we're grappling with this. At ITS, we'll be grappling with T's and C's in contracts, right, from a data privacy and a protection kind of issue. So I feel, or I should say sort of in my time back, I feel like we in Mississippi are in sort of a sweet spot across the country. I did a presentation Monday at Mississippi State to the Stennis Executive Development Institute cohort. And I used data collected from NASIO, so all 50 states, right? So the disconnect, Mark, that I would say to you is when you read about use cases that are happening across the country, in big, really well-funded states, they're very, very basic use cases still, which sort of tell me that there's this gap. There's a bit of a hype cycle, but there's this gap between how quickly the tech is progressing and the real world use of the tech to see benefits from. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Never a dull moment.
No, it definitely is not dull now. The agentic potential is frightening, and both in terms of its potential efficiency and capability, and also in the contract, the human contract, right, that we expect out of people who are doing this work, right? So it's changing fast.
So two data points. One, the Gartner Group in 2028 has a prediction that we will be interacting with upwards of 100 million robo-colleagues, is what they call them. In other words, agents. And two, I have a story about the time that it really got to me, which was we were in a meeting, and a company we were talking with talked about an agent repository, right, in their ecosystem. That didn't quite get to me. But when he then said that the agent repository will interact with other software in an ecosystem, so agent repositories working cross-platform to do things, it took me a minute to process that one.
Yeah, it's going to be powerful. It is going to change a lot of things. Training people to use them is it's a bottleneck at the moment.
Agreed.
I am struggling. Even I study this exact problem, I'm struggling to really fathom, how far it can go and how quickly it can get there.
Yes. Let me provide another shout out for the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network in the state of Mississippi. The partnerships that we have done with them have really been amazing. And it's been something that I think my time in the public sector, it's always challenging getting folks trained and focused on how to move forward. But Maine has been really great as a consortia to bring folks together. So I briefed on 2 of them today. We're putting a lot of these opportunities out there, and we're seeing these rooms fill up with 80, 100, 150 people. So I have not quite seen that before in my government service, and I think that's heartening to see that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Craig.
I'm just going to ask Craig, of those 80 or so people showing up, are those all state employees?
It's the thing that's great about it, Keith, is it's a cross section.
Really?
Yes, it can be state, it can be local. There's higher ed, community college and K-12 folks. So it's typically a very interesting cross section, which I think, to Maine's credit, I would be sure, it's not ITS, to Maine's credit, they've built this community of practice almost, right? And as these events get announced, they're able to draw from that community to get folks around the table.
That's great. Well, good luck.
Yeah, I'm going to have my agent attend for me and just tell me what I missed.
There you go.
I want to learn more about that later.
Yeah, build me an agent, Craig. I need one.
I can do it tonight.
3D print it. Okay. Thank you all for attending today. I think all that is left is a verification of the quorum for next meeting, which is slated for June the 18th.
I plan to be
Should be available.
Available, yeah.
Okay, looks like that is verified, and I will see you all then. Thanks for the input today, the agencies and everyone who participated. It was a long one with some issues, but I think productive, and we're all doing what we should do. So see you next time in June.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Or next week.
Recording stopped.
Yes, or before.